Hi there. I hear from a lot of people that they're curious about how they can improve their focus at home. A lot of people want to improve their focus generally, but in our day and age with remote work and a lot of people with hybrid kinds of jobs, we might be working from home more than what we have a lot of experience with in our careers. So when we think about being focused when we work at home, really, home is just a subset of many environments where we might be working. And I propose that there are very specific challenges to working from home, and they are specific cases of three general challenges to our focus. So I'll talk about the three general challenges, and then we'll talk a little bit about why home is maybe a specific problem in these areas. So the three areas that challenge our focus are pretty straightforward. One is interruption, that's the external environment, getting our attention. We lose our focus. Two is multitasking, which I define as not choosing to focus on a single thing. I think we actually make the mental choice to start juggling, so to speak, with our tasks. So two is multitasking and trying to do, having the intent to do more things than one at the same time. And then the third challenge to our focus is distraction. And distraction is the mental noise. When we're trying to focus on doing a task, your brain may serve up some idea of something else that needs to be done. And that's actually the most challenging one to deal with. But all of these things are roughly environmental in nature. And we need to deal with our environment when it's time for us to focus. So, dealing with interruption, we have social cues around interruption. We have closed doors. We can turn our phone off, all these kinds of ideas. Headphones, whether there's music in them or not, send signals to your environment that you don't want to be interrupted. And much of the time, people will respond appropriately to those cues. Multitasking is a choice. And I think the way to deal with multitasking is to say, no, I'm not going to pay attention to that now. I'm going to pay attention to this. And when we sit down to do work or when we get ready to focus for our work is to be real clear on what our single task is for a period of time, maybe a period of fairly short duration, say 15 minutes. The third one is distraction. Distraction has to do with the number of things that are in our skull at any one point. And I have podcast episodes where I drill down on all these ideas. But distraction is difficult because most of us are used to keeping a task list in our skulls at some level. And we don't have a system where we can put our tasks out into the world and thus free up our brains. So, why is home a specific challenge here? Well, I'll say on the interruption front, home is more challenging maybe than the office because at home there's not a culture of don't interrupt people. At home is where we're with those that are closest to us. We have spouses, we have kids, maybe we have young kids, maybe we have pets, and we don't feel as comfortable using the social structures with those individuals in our lives as we do with our coworkers in the office. So home presents a specific challenge. It's not that those social cues can't be used, it's that they seem more rigorous or they seem more challenging when we're facing our loved ones. And pets just don't understand the social cues. My dogs, if you close the door on my dogs, then that's an invitation for them to scratch at it and kick at it and whine at it until it opens back up. And then they don't even come into the room. So that's home with interruptions. The people at home we don't want to inflict those social cues on them, at least to the degree that we're willing to do in the office. Multitasking at home. It's real simple at home to have a whole bunch of fairly small tasks that need to be done. And how we set up our environment so that those tasks, we're not trying to do all those tasks at the same time, is a challenge in our home environment. There are less chores, I would say, that you have to do at the office than there are that you have to do at home. Finally, distraction. I don't think distraction is maybe a whole lot more severe at home than it is in the office, because distraction is a global way of managing your thought life and managing the things that are going on in your skull. And if you figure out how to manage that, then what you're doing at work and what you're doing at home really become the same thing. Now, I will say again, from the standpoint of intent, emotionally for us as people, home is a place where we want to be more comfortable and more relaxed. And so our tendency is to not, much like interruption, our tendency is to not use the tools. So perhaps you're working from home and you actually plan to, well, I'll get a little laundry done today while I'm working from home. And that's a fine thing, but that easily leads into interruption. The washer or the dryer or whatever dings at you when it's done, and you go, oh, hey, I better take care of it. Or two, multitasking. Hey, I'll just do this while I'm on the phone. I'll iron while I'm on the phone, or whatever that is. And then three, I'll say about distraction. And this is one that doesn't categorize easily. I'll lean back on the notion of visual clutter. I think that often our homes have more visual clutter than our offices tend to. And as such, that puts us in a position where there's many things that can attract our attention. And I have a deep dive podcast on visual clutter that I think might be useful if you think that's your problem. But the next time you sit down to focus on your work at home, think about those three ideas. Is your environment set up to help you avoid interruption? Are you intending to do one thing for some period of time, although it might be a short period of time, 15 minutes? And then three, what's your visual space look like? Are you setting yourself up for visual kind of distraction? Of course, there's a lot more on my podcast, and you can find that at dobusyrite.com/podcast, and I'll put the link in the show notes below. But be happy that you can work from home. Be happy that you can avoid the commute. But sit down and think about these three ideas when you're starting your work, that focused kind of work, and see if there's not some things you can do to improve your environment, to improve your intent to focus on a single thing, or to improve your visual field such that you don't get as many visual cues that turn into distractions for us. So I'll leave it there for now. Love to see you on the podcast.